match and manage and trace identity. And certainly we welcome, assure, with other industry participants, the chance to help participate in this identity.
When one looks at technology, what is going to be the future use of it? Is it going to save costs, generate revenues? Today, it's such a huge networking piece. I mean, I think when people think technology, it's about communication more than anything else. What do you think technology is sort of eventually going to become? All of these, or just a few of these?
All. But let me throw it back to something Anand said earlier, which I thought was genius, and I'd never heard it before. Your quote about the Japanese, and when you're trying to evaluate the impact of technology, ask what does it help for the customer. When you're trying to think about information technology, you can talk about productivity and all these things, but it really is the impact on society now.
That's right.
And where does it have an impact, and where doesn't it, and where is it helping people get better price from crops, make sure that there's less spoilage, I mean, that people are happier, that they're more entertained, that they're more educated. And technology has a role to play, but it's just an enabler. I agree with what you said. I mean, how do you see it, Anand?
No, I agree, but this might sound a little contrary. On one hand, I've said that good old-fashioned networking and people skills are important. But if you call Twitter technology, or enabled by technology, or a new technology, that's in a strange state now. People are almost seeing it, sniffing at it as is it some kind of social thing going on? Ashton Kutcher is on it, so naturally can't be serious in that case, right? If he's the highest number.
Anand's big on it as well, so you should know both ends.
I keep getting asked, why are you on this? How come you have so much time? I think it's an incredibly powerful tool. I think any CEO who doesn't use Twitter is going to be severely handicapped. You can go downwards in your organization to the bottom. You can reach your customer directly. You're a trend spotter all of a sudden. Being a CEO, you don't need anybody. But quite apart from that, the ability to put people in touch with each other, Facebook does, but 140 characters limitation is genius, because it enables you to, it forces you to interact with many more. I wouldn't dream of interacting with 55,000 people over Facebook, but you can do it on Twitter. Now, is that useful in a country like India with so many schisms, so many divides, so many social divides? Is it going to bring people together? I might be being a little idealistic, but hell, it won't hurt. And it could make, pardon the very cliched expression, 10 years later we'll say Twitter may have helped make a better world. So technology actually can be much more than everything you said. It's just how you choose to view it.
Right, but you've been here at Microsoft and you yourself have come to India several times. Do you think that the whole so-called rural opportunity is more in theory than in practice, because we still are a little away from the touch and feel of it on the rural side?
Right. No, it's a good question. I would say that, and I've been in India many, many times, going back to 1983, when I first came on a vacation for 3 weeks. So, I've spent some time, and yet really understanding, I'll call it the three Indias, the developed India, where people want technology products that are the same as people would want in US or Europe. The emerging middle class, and what's the technology solutions for that part of the market, and then the rural, sort of economically less active, and how we think about that, what new products we design. Every visit to India, I'm challenged and think about that, and I don't see it exactly. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means I don't see it.
As I try and wrap this up, I do want to ask you, Steve, that you meet so many Indian CEOs and people who've been turning their companies into multinationals. Is there a management theory that you take back with you from people like Anand and so on, who you keep meeting every now and then?
Yeah, look, every interaction I have with bright, energetic CEO like Anand or anybody else in any country, you learn something. I have at least 2 or 3 interesting thoughts that I'll make notes on when we get off camera of things that I'm going to think about. The point about the Japanese and how you evaluate information technology, now the fact that we're in India, and I'm talking to Anand, it could have been someplace else, but in this country certainly you see a sophisticated group, very accomplished group of CEOs for the big companies. That's not uniform. I'm not going to pick on countries. Let me just say it's not as uniform across the globe as you might think. But I always learn something while I'm here, and I appreciate learning some things from Anna, even on this panel.
Are you always curious about the whole story as you read every day, every morning, and you might have today, that Steve has to always face Apple and all the news flow? Is there a question you want to ask him about that story?
No, I want to put it in the context of the learning. Because, Steve, this is a very widely watched media group. People are obviously looking at yesterday's news. You already responded to that in your characteristic, energetic fashion and the appropriate way. But at the same time, what is an opportunity for learning for the number of executives who watch this program is there anything different you would do as a CEO? How do you respond to this circumstance? Do you simply say, look, it's just a few points higher market cap, it could go the other way, it's not significant? Or do you do something different which other potential CEOs and I can learn from? How do you react to a situation like this?
Give you two sides. Number one, the day you start thinking your stock price tells you how you're doing is the day you probably shouldn't be CEO. I know where I'm doing a good job and where I'm not. I know where the company's doing a good job and where it's not. And the stock price, as they say in the short term, is a voting machine. In the long term, it's a weighing machine. So I don't get overly obsessed with it at all. That's number one. Number two, if you ask me, not that I'm going to do my personnel review on TV today, but if you ask me, over the last 10 years, are there things... are there 4 things that you're really proud of and 4 things you wish you'd done differently? Oh, yeah, I've got that burned into my head. I talk about it with my board a lot. I have it burned into my head. There are 4 things, or 5 things I'm really proud of. And there are 2 or 3 things I say, I wish we'd done that just a little differently. I wish I had
done that, and I know you're a golfer, so you might... Has there been a time in your life when you wanted a mulligan and you turned around and said, wish we had the iPod, or I wish we had done the iPad? Does that sort of come to you ever?
I don't ever wish